Hi everyone, Callie here. In this video I'm going to build and review Forest Animals Red Fox. It's set number 31154. It contains 667 pieces. It was released on March 1st, 2024 and retails for $49.99 US dollars. As it's part of the Creator 3-in-1 line, there's two alternative builds. We first of all have the owl and then we have a squirrel. Personally, I love all three. The owl was probably my immediate favorite, although the fox has really grown on me. The squirrel is absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at that, like, tail. I do have two copies of this because I want to build the owl and I want to build the fox, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to get a third one to build the squirrel as well. It's really great for the Creator 3-in-1 to actually want to build all three of the models. Usually there's just like the main one and then maybe I want to build a second, but very rarely do I want to build all three. So I'm really excited for the set and how great all of these animals are going to look once I put them all together. This set has 5 build stages, which is about 130 pieces per stage, which is a nice pace for the build. There are also 3 instruction booklets, one for each model, and the one for the fox is a little bit thicker than the other two. There's nothing particularly special about these manuals. There's no like designer information or anything like that, but you wouldn't expect that in a 3-in-1 set anyway. The back you've got the parts and of course the other things that came out in this wave, of which I have bought and built several. Enough talk, let's get building. I wasn't sure what I was building to start with actually. It just sort of started with some bricks and some snot to create sort of a really strong core structure. And I was like, is this the tail? Is this like the body? And it wasn't until I started to put in some of the connector pieces that I realized that this had to be the body of the fox because those connectors are where the legs are going to go inside. So we got some nice white area at the top there, and then we start to texture it with lots of pieces at the side to cover up that snot work. By the end of stage 1, we have the core of the fox's body. This module is solid. Everything is so densely packed. There's no gaps in here at all. And I also really want to point out just how beautiful it is with all the different colors and textures of pieces that we have here. Some of it's obviously structural, but some of it is just to create that fur texture. For example, here on the top, you can see at the bottom end there, we have one of those, I don't know, like 3-pronged tile pieces. I don't really sure what we're going to call them. They use them for fur or to create a thatched roof. You can also see them there at the bottom. You've got that along with those tooth elements just to create that sort of 3-dimensional texture that we've been looking at. Additionally, we've also got some studs showing and a few tile pieces of different colors to create that lovely sort of fur texture. In this core structure, we have 5 of those gray sort of ball connector points that are like Technic pieces. We've got one at each side layer for both the front legs, and then one at the back that will be for the tail, and then at the front we have a ball joint that will be for attaching the head. During stage 2 of the build, we put together the neck module and then the head, and it's got a lot of those 3-pronged fur pieces, as I'm going to call them from now on, to create that beautiful sort of chest texture. The neck module is a single unit that will rotate, and then onto that we have a ball joint that is for the head, and as you can see, the head has a lot of parts in it, which means it's incredibly detailed with well-defined features. I think LEGO have created something really quite special here. The shape and features and expression you can get from this fox face is really quite outstanding. It's mostly done by using really small elements like those cheese wedges, some of the teeth parts, to create that fur texture, and then the little beads to create the eyes rather than just little tiles. The head shape is also proportional and doesn't look awkward. The snout looks perfect compared to the ears. Overall, it makes the model look cute and not creepy like some animals can in LEGO. You can see here I'm manipulating that neck module, which is on that ball joint, and it doesn't obviously move back and forth, but it will rotate on its spot. So you can, go 360 if you want, and the head is also on a ball joint, so it can also rotate too. So that allows us to articulate at these 2 points, which helps, of course, with posability of the model. At the chest, you can really get an idea of all the detail we've got here with the using all those teeth and those 3-prong pieces, as well as some pyramid wedges as well. One thing I really notice and appreciate about this construction is how well the neck and headpiece cover up those joints. So you can't really see that they're actually sort of separate modules of the model. They're pretty well hidden in there, and unless you sort of go looking for it from a distance, you don't really see it. You can, of course, articulate the ears as well. There's not really much you can do there. They can move side to side. And, you can sort of just play around with the head a little bit, maybe move it to the left and to the right, and you can see that ball joint in there and how that functions. But most of the time, you can't really tell that that's there, and that's actually a really nice piece of the design. A final piece of articulation is the mouth. It can open and close, no problem. Cheeky boy. The next thing the fox needs, of course, is some legs, and we build that in this next stage. We begin with the front leg, which has a relatively small joint compared to what we're about to build for the rear. As I'm putting that together now, you can see that it's a really dense build with a lot of parts. It's mostly because we're also adding to the body of the fox as well as just building the leg, and each of the rear legs have a couple of points of articulation, which helps you either have the fox sitting or standing, which is pretty nice. The front are just straight legs. At the end of each leg, we have a ball joint, and that is going to be for the feet, which we're actually going to add in the next stage when we also build the tail. The design of the legs fits perfectly with the rest of the model. At the front there, we've got a few tones of brown to help bring depth to the design. All the legs have a nice mix of tile pieces and also plate to create that fluff texture that we've been seeing throughout the entire build. As I move the rear socket, you can see it's one of the ones that has the little click stopping points, and then there you can see how the legs hinges on particular parts. You can articulate here, here, and there at the bottom, and all of those options means you can customize how the fox is standing or lying down. The same socket joint is used at the front of the leg, so it's up or down, and then underneath you can see some of the hinges that we have at the rear. There's beautiful part usage here at the back. I really like how we have that large tile piece just to give it a nice shiny look. Mechanics at the rear are really well hidden underneath there, and as you can see, they move nicely and you can have it sort of looking however you want, and no matter what position you have those legs in, you can't really tell what's going on underneath, and I really like that about this model. I did build all 4 feet here incorrectly, so they look a little odd, but don't worry, that was just my mistake. And then I move on to the tail, starting off by encasing a large ball joint, which also has the connector that goes on the actual fox itself at the other end. And then I build the other part, which has the ball joint connector and the white fluffy tail part too. Most of this is the same sort of construction we've seen before, with lots of tile and those 3-prong kind of fur elements, and then some white slopes there to give it a nice polished look. So I'm playing with the foxtail here, and you can see we've got 2 points of articulation. We've got the up-down articulation at the rear of the fox, and then we've also got the full 360 rotation in the middle of the tail, which of course is a substantial build as it takes up basically an entire stage. Using these 2 points of articulation, you can kind of set the tail to do whatever you want. You can have it to the side, you can have it up and down, so it gives you a lot of freedom to display this model however you would like. I have got a critique about the tail, I'll get to that in just a moment, but first I want to look at the feet that I did fix so they don't look quite so weird. First off, the feet are on ball joints, so you can rotate them any way you like, and that's more for stability rather than like display purposes. It's a very simple build with just a circular plate underneath there, holding that ball joint, and then the 3-prong fluffy bit at the end there to give like a clawed kind of feathered foot kind of look. I actually realize I'm missing a piece there, so let me just pop that in place. There we go, now it's all fixed up. I would say overall the legs look maybe a little plain. You know, I know we've got 3 studs showing there, and I guess that shows that there's less fur in that area, but you know, it just feels a little undetailed compared to the rest of the build. The back there, we can easily move the legs to make the whole fox stand, and there he goes. He looks great as he stands, or you can have him sitting depending on what you're interested in. Back to the tail, and my main critique of this set is how this ball joint is not hidden and there is a distinctive gap there no matter what orientation you move the 2 parts. And that's a real shame. It's not well disguised the way that the neck and head area was. So you're always going to have this gap, and it really bothers me. From some angles it just looks completely disconnected. If you stick it up it's kind of okay, but it really falters when you have it sort of straight out the back like this. So you do need to twist the tail for it to look good. The tree side build is the 5th stage, and there's a little Millennium Falcon in there. I don't know why, but cool little Easter egg. Once we have the white plate base, we can start to then add some of the details. And in the center, we have a tree trunk where we hide some pieces that we're going to need for the alternate builds for this set. In the center, you can see that octagonal Technic piece, and to that we have elements clipped on there and sort of hinged up to create that tree trunk texture. It's actually a really nice technique. And then in the center, we have a wooden print element. The final element of this build is creating those barren trees, which is mostly just Technic pieces with those stem elements that you normally add flowers to. I don't object to the side build, but I have to say, I mean, it's not really to scale. I'm actually probably going to put this straight in the Winter Village because it is perfect for that. Alternatively, I might use some of these pieces to enhance the perch that the owl is going to sit on because I am going to build that model next. I do like this though. They have some really great techniques in this little build. They've got a lot of tile elements there with texture. That tree is on a little ball joint. You even got a shield piece there. This does feel more like a well-designed side build. It's just a shame it's not quite to the right scale for the fox, but it does suit the other animals in the set. Then scale is sort of less important with Lego, like let's remember the burger truck with the burger that was the size of the minifigure. So here it is next to the fox and it does work well. It is a nice complementary piece to the main animal build. Sort of twisted the fox's tail here a little bit, but you can still see that gap, so I'm going to have to play with the configuration a little bit more. Here I've made the foxer lie down and twisted the tail so the underside is showing, and it almost looks like a different set entirely. I really like that. And here I've got him sitting up with like a funny little face, and it just shows you the versatility that you can have with this set. This fox can look however you want and have any expression pretty much, and that highlights the great design of the set more than anything else. If you can get past the gap in the tail, which I really do see is the only major flaw with this set, I think you're going to absolutely love it. Obviously, it's a creator set, it's 3-in-1, you're getting great value for money, so that really isn't an issue. The parts in the set are absolutely extraordinary and are perfect for someone who might even want to sort of create their own animal from it as well. Due to the posability of the fox, I feel like you can play with it a lot and sort of get a lot of value and bandwidth from this set too. You know, it's not just going to look the same on your shelf from years to come. You can make them sit down or stand up or whatever, you know, like I have here. I was going to build the owl first, but the fox won in my little community poll, and I'm glad it did because this was a phenomenal set to build. I had a great time building it, and I don't want any of my negativity about the tail to deter you from picking this up for yourself. It is a phenomenal display piece. It's going to look great on the shelf, especially if you get the owl and the squirrel and maybe the giraffe and the lion, all those other creator sets that are coming out, so it'll sort of be a cohesive display. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like button to let me know. I'd also appreciate you hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the great content that I'm going to be bringing out in the near future. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.